Welcome to Love What You Love. I'm Julie Rose. I'm insatiably curious about people in the world around us and absolutely in love with passion and unselfconscious enthusiasm. Every other week, I geek out with someone about the thing that they love, and then I share it with you. Welcome back, or welcome. I have to be honest, the day job is doing its very best to try and kick my butt lately. It's been so incredibly busy. But it's been such a relief to know that I have this podcast to fill my heart and re-energize me again. And I think this week's guest can totally relate. José Mendoza is what you might call a Pokémon superfan. By day, he works in marketing in the entertainment industry, but his passion, since he was a kid, has always been Pokémon. In this chat, we talk about all the ways to experience Pokémon, how Pokémon takes you on a journey in more ways than one, nostalgia, the joys and sometimes literal dangers of watching Pokémon, the best Pokémon of them all, what on earth happened to his guest bedroom, and so much more. So find out why José loves Pokémon, and why you might learn to love it too. Hello, José. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited to chat with you because, little known to me, Pokémon is like the highest grossing media franchise of all time, which just blew my damn mind. And I don't know anything about Pokémon, but I do know that you are super into it. So
it's crazy to think that this franchise from the late 90s is so big that it's the biggest one, beating out like Mickey Mouse and like Marvel and like Harry Potter, but yeah, it's true.
My God, that's incredible. So are you like an a OG Pokemon person, or did you recently get into it? Like, when did you start getting into it, and what was it that got you into Pokemon?
Oh gosh, well, Pokemon's been around since like in Japan it came out in 1996, but in like 98 is when it kind of the anime started here, and then the video games came out, and that kind of just like blew it out of the water. And what people thought was a fad, around that time has stuck around, and it's stuck with me because it really just brought me so much happiness and joy, and it still does as a 32-year-old man.
That's good. So what is it about Pokemon that brings you joy? Where did you get your start, and why does it have staying power with you?
I think the thing with Pokemon is like it's the idea that you are a young boy or girl going off an adventure, exploring the world, and you're collecting these creatures that you're battling with. And it's sad to say some people have compared it to like dog fights or like street fights, chicken fights, animal fights, and it's just like, oh no, but it's cute. And it's like no, ignore all that like bad stuff. Focus on the good stuff. And it's just the idea of going on a journey and collecting friends and getting stronger, and at the end you're the champion and Pokemon master or whatever you call it. But it really kind of just like ticks off like all these boxes in my brain. I love lists, and collecting things is kind of like one of the things that Pokemon is about.
Maybe you could just do like a primer on like how Pokemon is played and what the universe is like.
All right, so for Pokemon, the name actually comes from Pocket Monsters because it is a Japanese game, so they condensed it into Pokemon. And the idea is that you are a young boy or girl set on a journey. You start the game. You choose one of three options. Every generation of every video game that's released since has had like its own like select three. And then from there, you go around collecting Pokemon, going to different gyms where you beat someone who's an expert at a certain type of Pokemon. And then once you have enough badges, you battle against the Elite Four, usually is what they're called. And then you're champion. And then 40 hours later, you do it all over again. Or you go through and your list and collect and evolve Pokemon that you miss. Because every different area has different Pokemon. There's like grass types, water types, flying types. And in the original series, a lot of them are like based around like animals and maybe inanimate objects. And in recent ones, there's one that it's a keychain. But, it's kind of the mix and variety that Pokemon exists in the real world. And this year is actually the 25-year anniversary, so there's a lot going on. Katy Perry just released a Pokemon single in partnership for a song called Electric. So It's everywhere.
Wow.
Pokemon's everywhere.
That's incredible. Now, were you a kid that liked to play video games at that time, or was there like somebody said, "Hey, check out this Pokemon game. Pokemon game. You're gonna love
I
it."
think the animation's kind of what caught my eye initially, and there's so many commercials for the video game that had just come out, so they were really good commercials, at least for like a 9, 10-year-old. They really caught your eye, and it's like I want to play that. But yeah, and at the same time, not long after, the Pokemon cards were around. I mean, and the Pokemon cards are still here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw recently, Target even said that they were going to start selling Pokemon cards because like Pokemon cards never left, but now they're like out there in like pop culture again. Like, and then I think it like triggers like a memory in people like, oh yeah, Pokemon cards. I used to love those. And people have an idea. It's like, oh, I remember this favorite Pokemon that I liked. And it's huge again. And unfortunately, the part of the reason Target is selling is that it's so big that you have scalpers out there buying all the cards, trying to make a buck. Because there's always the idea that there's a common Pokemon, uncommon, and the rare, and in the cards there's that holographic foil. Like back in my day, it was a shiny Charizard. And then these cards sell for $3,000 plus if they're in mint condition, like retirement kind of situation. Because people were willing to pay big money for these rare things that trigger a nostalgia in their brain.
Yeah, I've seen Twitch streamers who are just like opening Pokemon card packs.
Yeah, so a lot of them tend to be older cards from every 3 months the Pokemon company would release like a new expansion. Just hey, new Pokemon, new cards, new options, and a lot of them that are rare, like from back in the day, just because they're old card sets that they don't really make those anymore. So these vintage card sets that people are unpacking, and then it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Are you collecting Pokemon cards right now?
Gosh, I've bought some in like the last 10 years because when I was younger, parents are poor and cards are not cheap. Like every pack can easily be between $3 to $5, and you're paying that for 10 cards. And it's like I have no one to play with. So a lot of it's just like it's like opening a Christmas present, and I always get like a little bit of that feeling like I'm opening a gift, and like let's see what I get.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nothing. Most often it's nothing, but sometimes you're like, wow, this beautiful shiny cards, and I'm gonna put it in my folder and never see it again. So I have a lot of these folders and boxes of like just cards and cards and cards that I think at some point I'm going to find this boy or girl that just is so in love with Pokemon as much as I was at some point, and I'm going to be like, here you go. Like your heart is going to explode out of happiness, and it's going to make me happy because, you're passing on the gift of, this is something that you love and that someone else appreciates. Because if someone had done that for me when I was 10, tears of joy. And isn't that what it's about? Like just having a good time with it.
Yeah. So the difference with Pokemon cards and like collecting baseball cards is that there's nostalgia in both, but with Pokemon you can actually play a game with the cards. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it is the Pokemon trading card game, or TCG for short. Yeah, there's huge tournaments, like prize money. Pokemon, the company has done like scholarships for winners of guests, and they do like different levels, like masters and like kind of like intermediate and like younger kids that are like for 10 and under. But a lot of these kids are really good. Like I could never go up there because part of it too though is like to build a competitive card deck, like you kind of had to buy some of the best cards or collect enough cards because you're opening random booster packs. You don't know what you're going to get, so it is a bit of an investment. But that's how they get you.
It's a little bit of a bias towards people who can actually afford to buy the cards.
Oh yeah, no, I tried to get my fiance Max Miller from Tasting History into Pokemon cards right in the beginning when we met, and he was just like, I can't keep up. There's this like I have one good card and I really need like 4 good cards.
It's got to take time and a lot of cash to get that.
Yeah,
together.
A lot of cash. I mean, I feel bad for parents, but again, there's a reason why I didn't have any when I was growing up. It was an investment. So, and now it just opening it up is what brings me a little bit of joy, and hopefully I can find someone to play with just casually in the non-pandemic world.
Besides the obvious differences, how is it different to play the card game versus playing the video game?
It's very, very different. I mean, the idea of collecting Pokemon is kind of like the base of the video game. You want to fill out your Pokedex was just essentially like an encyclopedia of Pokemon. Like at this point, I think there's almost 900 different Pokemon.
Wow.
It's like I don't know the elements to the periodic table, and I don't know the names, or I couldn't call out all the plants if I saw them in a picture, but I could tell you at least close to 800 of the 900 Pokemon.
That's awesome.
Because, you know, from going from 10 years old to like 32 that I am now, it's like every few years they have like a new generation, and they'll introduce like, here's another 100 or another 75 or 150. Like, so, and it's kind of what that brings in the new generations, like you're pushed out, and the games themselves haven't really evolved as a thing. They're all very easy. Like, there's no hard mode, and I wish there was for someone who's older at this point and kind of knows the the way about the game, because I've been doing it so long. I'm an OG, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, were you playing video games anyway, or was this like your first entree into playing video games?
I've always been interested in like the Nintendo Entertainment System, like just Super Mario and like old Ninja Turtle games that they're actually pretty hard. Like a lot of the retro games that we call now that were like that 8-bit style, Mega Man, very, very difficult. But the Pokemon games are not, I don't want to say real time where it's like running around and things are coming at you. Like it's menu based. Like I have 50 HP, which is, hit points. You hit me, and then I hit you, and then, one of us is going to win. Once you hit 0 hit points, you've lost. So it's an RPG. So you play at your own pace, nice and mellow. I don't need anyone else. But actually, no, I lie. Part of the appeal of Pokemon back in the day is you were played on your Game Boy, which is where it got its start. So they introduced the idea of evolving Pokemon, but you needed to trade with someone, so you needed a link cable to really collect all of them, because they would release, they still do, they release them in 2 versions. One version has most of them except maybe like 10. The other version has most of them except different 10. So in order to collect them all, you had to swap with people, and that's how they got you.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, and they still do it. They still do it. Like they double their numbers, because there are some people who are obsessed, like myself, who was like, all right, well, I want them all, so I'm just going to buy both versions. So I'll buy a version for myself and then a version for my partner, which he doesn't really play as much. So it's like, all right, give me that. Like, let me make enough progress to get the ones I need.
So how many Pokemon have you actually collected?
Every game has different batches. So it's like I've been transferring some of them for years, like through different generations. So I have some really old, like Sprite Pokemon in my games that, they've been around for years at this point.
Is it based on like your user profile that you kind of collect all of these?
The thing is, technology has developed. Like what used to be like just pixels is now like 3D rendered creatures on screen. So, you went from Game Boy Pocket to Game Boy Advance to, GameCube, Nintendo 64 at some point, so they've given systems where you can like transfer your file data. So obviously I've lost a lot of, because just you get older, and at some point you lose your Game Boy, you lose your game, your friend never returns your game to you. Like at some point it's like, all right, like let me carry the ones I like over, and you kind of transfer them through the generations. But yeah, like the internet becoming a thing, like the wireless connectivity, where back in the day you used to physically connect a cable. Now it's just something you can do online, and it's like, here, like I'll trade you this Pokemon for that Pokemon. Do
you remember the very first Pokemon that you collected?
It's the one that's given to you. So they're all numbered. They have a national Pokedex number that's like their identification number. So it would be the Bulbasaur, which I actually have so many different plushes, because it's like my favorite from back in the day, and I've carried it over, and I have what I call like a Bulbasaur shrine.
I love it.
And then because I've been working and like my career and stuff, so I've been able to afford this dream that I had of like buying all these plushies, and so now our guest bed's just covered in like 200 plus plushies. A lot of these, which are the ones that have made it over into the tasting history, it's just a little Easter egg in the back.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to ask you, I've seen on your Instagram pictures of your collection. That's massive. It's like, that's a huge collection of plushies.
It's like, oh, yay, I like, let me check this one off. Like, I collected this one, and now move on to the other one. But the thing is, sometimes they release new ones that are like in outfits of past ones that I already have, and it's just like, oh, can I justify buying this? Yes, I can. This one has a costume, that one does not. So I have way too many plushies and not enough room.
That is amazing.
There's a reason why they're the top media franchise, because there's people like Jose collecting 300 plus of them. Yeah,
they're genius marketers. It's brilliant.
I mean, gosh, they're all over the place. And again, the Pokemon card, it's cyclical. Like, it starts kind of maybe die down. It's still always there, but it pops into like the cultural zeitgeist again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw articles where it's like, oh, this 90s celebrity, I'm like, that had disappeared. I'm like, it never left. It's just you just were not paying attention because you're not in that bubble. And the bubble had just expanded currently into the real world. I don't know how you want to call it.
Now, how do you, pre-pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic, how do you connect with other people that are into Pokemon?
I think just as having friends that have similar interests, we like video games, and like if Max is not going to trade his Pokemon with me, well, good thing I have like 10 other friends who are playing the different versions that I can play with. And besides the trading card game online, they actually have virtual video game tournaments too. Again, similar to the Pokemon trading card game, different levels, people competing, building their team of 6 super powered Pokemon to battle other people, and it's a whole thing. It's a kid's game, but there's like a layer of like complexity back there where you're like doing math and feeding like your Pokemon like super vitamins, and like you're breeding different generations of Pokemon and hatching eggs, trying to get the best statistics for your team. It's involved.
Yeah. So there's an element of, you don't just collect a Pokemon, you can crossbreed and create new.
There's like almost like a genetics, like some Pokemon belong in different egg groups, and you can like crossbreed them, and they won't make new species, but like the stats carry over, and like the different attacks that are unique to different Pokemon can be transferred through generations. It's a thing. And then you layer on the randomness of something, shiny Pokemon. So shiny Pokemon, I believe, have like a 1 in I'm gonna get grilled for misquoting, but it's like 1 in like 7,000 chance of appearing. So I've actually, in all my years playing Pokemon, I didn't encounter one until like probably like 6-7 years ago. So it's like, that's how rare it is. Mind you, they didn't appear in the first generation of games, but by the second, shiny Pokemon were a thing, and just like the odds of getting one, I think maybe as a kid I did get one and I didn't know, and I was like, oh, my game has a glitch. Because shiny Pokemon, they're usually a different color. It's carried over into Pokemon Go, which is kind of, do you remember Pokemon Go? Like the summer of Pokemon Go, where there was world peace and everything was great. People were swarming, different areas trying to find. I still play Pokemon Go, and I'm appreciative of it because it's kind of opened it to other non-gamers, because it's a casual game. You just flick a ball and you're done. But it runs in it's geo-based, so if you're walking down the street in real life, you're walking down the street in Pokemon Go, and something might pop into your screen. And that's kind of the only reason I was able to get Max into knowing the Pokemon, because he plays with me daily, or just every a few minutes at a time. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Besides kind of connecting with your friend group, are there like conventions where people go to talk Pokemon?
God, I'm sure they exist, but I think a lot of it is more at the community level and the different events that Pokemon sponsors, like the tournaments for the video games, the tournaments for the cards. E3, Nintendo, which owns the Pokemon company. It's also called Game Freak. So they always have a huge booth for anything Pokemon that's coming up, because they tend to release the games like every like 3 years. Like, here's a new generation, here's a new Pokemon, here's a bunch of new plushies for you to buy, new clothes, new cards, new everything.
Are you also into like the anime and the manga and the
All right,
movies?
so the anime, it really is for 10-year-olds and
Oh,
down.
okay.
Because there's even though there's a continuity of like from when the main character Ash Ketchum, which is just a pun on Ketchum, he's been 10 for the last 20 something years. So, I think that allows newer kids to be able to be brought in at any point. But it's no fun for someone who's older. It's like, dude, like you still suck after like 20 years. Like you're trying to be a Pokemon master and you haven't caught like anywhere near enough to be to be close to that. Through the generations, the series evolves and there's like throwbacks to past characters, but it's not the best animation. Let me tell you that. Yeah, and again, it's for kids, and you watch an episode, it's like I'm good, like But as far as like the manga, it tends to be similar. It's also very young.
Now, is there a generation of Pokemon that you think is the best?
Everyone wants to like who played when they were little always say that like the first generation is like the best generation. But I mean, yeah, sure, there's a lot of great ones because everyone's like, oh, they have the best designs, and it's like, are you sure? Because one of them's just like a ball and one's just a blob. Like, I think I had the best time with Pokemon Platinum, which I believe is the fourth generation, and what again, they're good marketers because they release two sets so you can try and collect. You will trade and maybe buy both versions. Maybe a year later, they release a third version in that generation, and that one has like added bells and whistles, and maybe you can collect a few more, and they always get you. But my favorite version is Platinum version, which was a third version of that generation. It just had more bells and whistles, more to do, more post game. You beat the game, I'm the champion, and there's just more going on in the back.
Like what?
Just more trainers. It's stronger tournaments going on in the main game. Just new areas to explore. That's what it tends to come down to. Because like once you beat the game, you defeated 8 gym leaders. You're the master. Like it's like, all right, well now what? Like, well, there's a whole new island to explore. So that's what it tends to be.
Now, have you always been a person who likes to collect stuff?
Gosh, it's hard to say because being young, not having a lot of money, it's like, well, it's not a lot to collect. Like comic books, I always wanted to read comic books, but comic books tend to be kind of pricey. Like they're only a few dollars, but as a kid, those few dollars are going to like AAA batteries to power my Game Boy Pocket.
Yeah.
So I could play more Pokemon. I was digging through my couch to find change and maybe my mom's purse to get that extra dollar to really get those batteries. But as an adult, that sense of satisfaction of crossing off, like, all right, I did this and that, and now I have all this.
So how's Pokemon helped you get through the pandemic?
Well, it's always there, so it's a good outlet for me. There are so many different games because there's a main series of games where it's you're going on your journey, but they have puzzle games. They have Pokemon Go is like the biggest spinoff. Pokemon Snap, they released a sequel, and that one's a bit of a cult classic between gamers, and you're just on rails essentially taking pictures of Pokemon living in the wild. I know it sounds boring.
No.
But for someone, who hasn't really experienced a Pokemon in 3D when you're younger, because you're used to like pixels, black and white pixels is kind of where we started. So to see them like fully realized in their environment, quote unquote, that was fun. But they finally released a sequel to it recently, and that's been fun. Just very zen.
It's not like Fortnite where people are coming at you.
Oh my god, I'm not great at playing like huge multiplayer games because you get kids, you get different skill levels, and I kind of land in the middle of that. It's like I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Now, do you have another video game that you play regularly besides Pokemon?
I tend to play whatever is the newest, like Resident Evil 8 came out, Resident Evil Village, but it's a horror game, and I have to be in the mood and and willing to get scared. So I want to play during the day so I don't get as scared. But I work during the weeks, and I'm done by 7. Our dinner, all right, now it's 9 o'clock. Like I can sit down and play, but it's late and I'm scared. So I need to like play it on the weekends when it's daytime and I can commit like 2 hours because like you got to get in that like state of mind because if you get scared enough, you kind of get used to it after a while. Like, all right, I know what to expect. I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm good to go. I'm also big into Kingdom Hearts and Zelda, which again, a lot of these games are just like going on a journey. Like you are the hero and saving the world or whatever. So,
do you like to travel outside of Pokemon and your work world? Like, do you enjoy traveling?
I haven't really done too much of that, to be honest. I tend to keep to myself, I'd say, and at home. Like I've lived in LA pretty much my entire life. Like LA is big, but like LA adjacent as far as I've gone. So I'd like to in the future though. And definitely the Pokemon Center in Japan.
Yeah.
They have a few of those. And they have one like I think Europe has one, but now they've set up like online shops where you can pretty much get a lot of the similar goodies. But that hasn't stopped me from like importing like Japan exclusive.
Right.
But I am paying the shipping rates. That's the hard part. But
I remember the Disney store that used to be in the mall. Is it the same kind of thing?
It's pretty much that. It's all Pokemon. Yeah, Nintendo has a store in New York that's kind of like there's like a Pokemon area, which is pretty cool that I've been to. But it's more Nintendo. It's like anything in the Nintendo umbrella. But they have Pokemon cafes like dedicated to Pokemon in Japan, where they serve you like dishes like that are shaped like Pikachu and like it's adorable. Like,
are you sure you want to eat Pikachu though? That seems a little.
It's so cute. It's hard to eat. No, I'm sure it's delicious. But yeah, it's like Pikachu's face is just stamped on things, and yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
One day soon.
If you were to spend a day as a Pokemon, which one would you choose and why?
This is an easy answer. Snorlax, because all he literally does is eat and sleep. And I do plenty of eating, but not enough sleeping. And he's pretty chill, and like he's famous. People love him. He's big and strong, and sleeps and eats, and that works.
I love that. That's perfect.
I want to bring up for Pokemon. They've had like through the years. There's just like I remember when I was growing up. I remember like it had gained so much popularity that it was all over the place. The cards, and I was in 4th and 5th grade, and like I had heard it's like in this Spanish news, it's like like Pokemon is like the devil, or like there are reports that very religious families were they were worried about the gambling aspect of swapping cards and selling them, or that people were being possessed by like this fascination with Pokemon. But
wow.
But it's still huge. PETA has lobbied campaigns against it because in their heads it's like animal cruelty, even though they don't exist. But in Japan, back in 1997, they had an episode that didn't air after that time because it induced a lot of seizures when it aired. It was called Electric Soldier Porygon, and there was like a rapid alternating flashing between the red and blue colors, and it just caused seizures.
Oh my god!
And it was so big at that time, so a lot of people were watching it, and 685 kids ended up hospitalized.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so this show has never aired again, but it has been. I believe South Park and The Simpsons parodied it. Yeah.
Wow! Have you actually seen it?
No, I should though. But now it's like I'm a little older now. It's like I don't need a seizure. Like I don't need that hospital bill.
Good call. Good call. Has Pokemon gotten you into any like other anime or manga that kind of came off of the Pokemon world, or just sparked an interest?
For kids my age, it's definitely one of the earlier ones, like Dragon Ball Z, or kind of like before that time. So, Dragon Ball is a huge thing, and I feel like right now anime is all over the place. We have it on, like Netflix has just so many new options. I think Castlevania just came out, like the newest season, like I think season 3 or 4, and I really enjoy it. Other great ones are Full Metal Alchemist. Attack on Titan is actually one that I was able to get Max into because it's based on like a futuristic alternate reality Europe with giants that eat people. But that's the fancy spin on it. So yeah, like it was definitely a gateway anime, I would say.
Now, is there other media that you're obsessed with?
I really enjoy going to the movies because I work in marketing, so at Disney. So working at Disney, just really the appreciation for all the work that goes into not just making the movies, but actually marketing it and putting it into people. And so I tend to go to the movies quite often. So this last year has been sad because so much was delayed because so much money is made at the box office. Before it goes to DVD and Blu-ray and finally streaming. So there's not a lot of like movies that I've been watching. It's kind of like catching up. Like, what did I miss in like the last few years? And there's actually a lot. Like, I've never seen Indiana Jones.
What?
I know, it's crazy. It's
Did
crazy.
you finally see it?
No, I need to.
Jose!
I know. Here's the thing. And I tell this to Max all the time. I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, so I watched a lot of Spanish cinema. Unfortunately, a lot of it is inappropriate to a 5 and 10-year-old because a lot of it's like about drinking and like romance. It's just so inappropriate. So I was watching that, and a lot of horror movies because my parents would watch English horror movies. So that's where I love scary movies now, and it's hard because Max doesn't like them, so I get one once a year. I'm cashing in this year's for a Quiet Place too. But yeah, so Indiana Jones is on my list because a new one's coming out late next year, I believe. So I kind of like need to brush up on those. Back to the Future, I think I want to watch those. And I don't know, there's just so many. I've had people. It's like you're like older. Like, why do you watch cartoons or like? And it's like it makes me happy. And isn't that enough? Like, I'm not hurting anyone. Like, I'm not doing anything bad. Like, my money is going towards something that genuinely makes me happy, and that's enough for me.
So, are there things that drive you crazy about Pokemon? Like, I love everything about Pokemon except for this.
God, I think a lot of it tends to be like I actually like that they refresh it because it does. Here's some new creatures for you to collect after I've already collected pretty much most of them. I'd say at this point. It keeps the franchise alive. It brings in new people, but it's the video games is kind of like my start and kind of what I tend to latch onto. And again, the game is made for younger kids, and they haven't really added difficulty levels to it to really keep it challenging to someone who's been with the series for the last 2 decades plus. 25 years is that's the anniversary this year. Like they're pushing the 25-year anniversary, and that's why the whole Katy Perry thing happened. And they're releasing new merchandise every month for every generation.
Oh,
really,
man.
Yeah,
I hope you saved your money.
Well, I'm not saving it because I'm spending it. Let's see what this month at the top of the month they have. And Pokemon Center is making so much money off of me. But yeah, it's the series has evolved, but it hasn't really been as welcoming to the older generation as far just from a challenging perspective. That's it.
And are there misconceptions about the world of Pokemon or people who play Pokemon or into it that you really hate?
I mean, the obvious ones like PETA, it's like, oh, that you're abusing Pokemon. It's like, well, it's just a video game. Like, I'm not actually an animal abuser. But other things are, it's like, or just an obsession. It's like, don't want to say I'm obsessed. Like, yeah, I'll buy the shirts and stuff, but like, I go to work, like, I'll wear slacks, I'll wear my tie, like, I can separate it, like, like, I love it, but I'm not crazy for it. Do what you love. Just do what you love.
Presume somebody's old like me and hears this and says, oh, Pokemon sounds actually pretty cool. How would you recommend they get started with it?
Well, at this point, you would probably have to buy a Nintendo Switch. That's a $200 investment, I think, the console, but it's also the handheld one. And then I think any of the games are honestly pretty easy to jump into. I say easy, but as I think about it, it's like, well, there's like a element type matchups like fire beats grass and grass beats water and water beats fire. So that's like the basic like triangle. But then there's like steel and then rock and dark and poison type. So I guess that now as I talk about it, it's like, oh, maybe it's a little more complicated. Because the first 3 are easy to understand, like that rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, well, that kind of exists when you're playing the game, trying to like what matchups work best against others. But I really do think that they are easy to get into. They are text-based role-playing games.
besides getting the Switch, I mean, can they go back and try older versions of Pokemon, or just start with what's out, the latest one that's out now?
Nintendo tends to remake them every few years, like past ones, because, like the Pokemon that they release in each generation tend to be unique to that game. And then they'll add some of them in future games, but like to be able to collect the swath of entire collection of that generation, it's harder because like no one's been playing for that. I mean, I haven't. Actually, I lie. A lot of people have, but like a day-to-day person maybe doesn't have time to collect all 900 of them. So you could start with older ones, but then you would have to get the older consoles unless there's a remake. And there's a remake coming up of my favorite one actually next year. So
awesome. Well, Jose, thank you so much for taking so much time to educate me and share your passion. This has been so much fun.
Thank you, Julie. No, I appreciate it. And honestly, I could probably talk for hours and hours. And I think this is how Max feels when it's like he talks about history. He just talk about it forever. He talks about 1066 and how much fun it is. And I guess this is me talking about Pokemon in that same vein. I love it.
You can find Jose on Instagram at World Against Jose and on YouTube at Catch Up with Max and Jose. Of course, I'll put all the links in the show notes. Huge thanks to Jose again for sharing his love and his passion. Just a reminder that you can find this podcast on Instagram at Love What You Love Pod, on Twitter at What You Love Pod, and the website is lovewhatyoulovepod.com. All of the transcripts for Love What You Love are available for everyone on the website, thanks to Emily White, transcription magician and proprietress of the Wordary. If you need transcripts, reach out to her at emilywhite@thewordary.com. The music for Love What You Love is called Inspiring Hope by Pink Sounds. A link to that artist is included in the show notes. As always, thank you so much for listening. Let's hang out again soon.
There's some good in this world, Mr. Furl. And it's worth fighting for.